There is power in silence, not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of understanding. When storms rage within, when emotions rise like waves crashing against the shore, what do? Do you fight them? Do you run from them? Silence is often misunderstood. Many see it as emptiness, a void where nothing happens, a space devoid of meaning. But true silence is not absence, it is present. It is the space where clarity is born, where the mind is no longer pulled in all directions by emotions, impulses, or external distractions. It is in silence that we find the strength to let go and start over. When emotions overwhelm us, whether it be anger, regret, sorrow, or frustration, our first instinct is often to react. We feel the need to express, to vent, to seek validation from others, as if speaking about our pain will make it disappear. But more often than not, this only fuels the fire. Words, when spoken in the heat of emotion, have a way of cementing our suffering rather than easing it. We replay our grievances, relive our disappointments, and in doing so we keep them alive. True strength lies not in loud expression, but in quiet understanding. To be silent in the face of turmoil is not to suppress or ignore, but to master. It is to step back and observe emotions as they rise and fall without letting them dictate our actions. It is to recognize that we are not our feelings, nor are we defined by our struggles. Just as the sky remains unchanged despite passing storms, so too does our true self remain untouched by momentary waves of emotion. Consider this. When we react impulsively, we surrender control. We allow the situation to dictate our response, rather than choosing our response with intent. But when we pause, when we allow silence to settle within us, we create a space between emotion and action. In that space lies freedom. The freedom to choose how we respond, the freedom to let go instead of holding on to pain, the freedom to move forward instead of staying trapped in the past. Letting go in silence does not mean avoiding difficult emotions. It means facing them fully, but without resistance. It means acknowledging pain without letting it consume us, accepting what we cannot change without bitterness, and releasing what no longer serves us without regret. It is the quiet surrender of control over things outside of us in favor of control over ourselves. Imagine carrying a heavy weight on your back, one that serves no purpose but to burden you. This weight could be resentment, guilt, or attachment to the past. The longer you carry it, the more exhausted you become, and yet so many of us refuse to put it down. We clutch our suffering as if it defines us, afraid that without it we will be empty. But what if, instead of holding on, we simply let go? Not in anger, not in despair, but in silence. Silence allows healing to happen. It is in silence that the mind regains clarity, that perspective shifts, that wisdom emerges. The world is full of noise, opinions, expectations, distractions, but none of it matters as much as the quiet voice within. To hear that voice, we must be still. We must step away from the chaos, detach from the need to explain or justify, and simply be. This is not an easy practice. It requires patience and discipline. It requires the courage to sit with discomfort rather than running from it. But the reward is great. With silence comes understanding. With understanding comes acceptance. And with acceptance comes the ability to truly start over, not as someone weighed down by the past, but as someone unburdened and free. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by emotions, resist the urge to react. Resist the urge to explain, to argue, to seek validation. Instead, step into silence. Observe your feelings without judgment. Let them pass like clouds in the sky. And then, when the storm has settled, act. Not out of impulse, but out of wisdom. In silence, we reclaim our strength. In silence, we let go. And in silence, we begin again. There is a great burden in trying to control things that were never ours to control. We fight against reality, resisting what is, wishing it were different, and in doing so we create suffering that need not exist. Much of our pain does not come from the events themselves, but from our refusal to accept them as they are. We hold on to expectations of how people should behave, how life should unfold, how the past should have been different, and when reality does not align with these expectations, we resist. We complain, we dwell. But what does this achieve? Nothing but unnecessary suffering. The truth remains unchanged, no matter how much we wish it were otherwise. The more we fight against what is out of our hands, the more exhausted we become. It is a hard lesson to learn, but a necessary one. There are things beyond our control, and to resist them is to waste our energy. We do not control the past, it has already happened. We do not control the opinions of others, they will think what they want. We do not control the actions of those around us, they will do as they choose. What then do we control? Ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, our responses, and that is enough. Imagine standing in a river, trying to stop the current with your hands. The water pushes against you, slipping through your fingers no matter how tightly you grip. The more you fight, the more you struggle, the more exhausted you become. But if you stop resisting, if you let the current flow around you rather than trying to hold it back, you find peace. The river does not stop, but you are no longer fighting it. You are no longer wasting your strength on something you were never meant to control. To detach from what you cannot control is not to become indifferent or careless. It is to recognize reality as it is and to accept it without unnecessary distress. It is to stop giving power to things that do not belong to you. If someone wrongs you, you do not control their actions, but you control whether you dwell in anger or move on. If a situation does not go as planned, you do not control the outcome, but you control how you respond. This detachment does not mean avoidance. It does not mean ignoring problems or refusing to engage with the world. It means engaging from a place of wisdom rather than reaction. It means understanding that external events have no power over you unless you allow them to. The world will continue to move, with or without your consent. You can either exhaust yourself trying to shape it to your will, or you can focus on shaping yourself to move through it with strength and clarity. Letting go of control is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of immense strength. It requires trust, not in luck or fate, but in yourself. Trust that you will handle whatever comes without needing to force things into place. Trust that no matter what happens, your inner peace remains yours to protect. The world is unpredictable, but your ability to navigate it with wisdom is within your power. We often think that control brings security, but in reality, the need for control creates anxiety. The more we grasp at certainty, the more afraid we become of losing it. But when we release this need, when we accept that life will unfold as it does regardless of our wishes, we find freedom. We no longer live in fear of the unknown because we are no longer trying to bend it to our will. This does not mean we do nothing. It does not mean we give up or stop striving for what matters. It means we act where we can and we let go where we must. We do our best and we release attachment to the results. We take responsibility for ourselves and we leave the rest to be as it is. To detach from what you cannot control is to reclaim your energy, your peace, your focus. It is to stop carrying unnecessary burdens. It is to live fully, without being weighed down by things that were never yours to hold. Let go. Not with frustration, not with resentment, but with quiet acceptance. And in that letting go, you will find something greater than control. You will find freedom. Emotions are powerful forces, capable of shaping our perceptions, influencing our decisions, and even defining the course of our lives. Yet they are also fleeting, impermanent, and unpredictable. One moment we may feel joy, the next sorrow. One day we may be full of confidence, the next doubt creeps in. If we allow ourselves to be ruled by emotions, we become like ships tossed by the waves, never steady, always at the mercy of forces outside our control. But if we learn to see emotions for what they truly are, temporary visitors, not permanent masters, we can navigate life with greater clarity and strength. When we experience a strong emotion, whether it is anger, fear, sadness, or frustration, our immediate reaction is often to either suppress it or be consumed by it. Suppression may seem like control, but in reality, it is avoidance. When we bury emotions without understanding them, they do not disappear. They build beneath the surface, waiting for an opportunity to resurface, often stronger than before. On the other hand, being consumed by emotions, letting them dictate our words, our actions, and our state of mind, leaves us vulnerable. We become reactive rather than deliberate, acting on impulse rather than wisdom. Neither extreme serves us well. The key is to recognize emotions without identifying with them. You may feel anger, but you are not anger itself. You may experience sadness, but sadness is not your identity. Emotions arise in response to situations, but they do not define who you are. Just as a traveler passes through a town without becoming a permanent resident, emotions pass through the mind. They are visitors, some welcome, some not, but none are meant to stay forever. Imagine sitting by a river, watching leaves float by on the surface of the water. Each leaf represents an emotion. Some pass quickly, carried by the current, while others linger for a while before moving on. If you try to grasp a leaf, to hold on to it, you disturb the flow. If you ignore the river entirely, you miss the movement of life itself. But if you simply observe, allowing the leaves to pass naturally, you understand the nature of the river without being controlled by it. This is how emotions should be treated, not as something to cling to or reject, but as something to observe and understand. When a strong emotion arises, pause. Do not react immediately. Instead, acknowledge its presence. If anger comes, say to yourself, "I feel anger right now." If sadness arises, recognize it. This is sadness. In doing so, you create a space between yourself and the emotion, a space where choice exists. You are no longer caught in the automatic cycle of reaction. You become the observer rather than the captive. This practice does not mean denying emotions or pretending they do not matter. It means accepting them without letting them take over. It means feeling deeply without being overwhelmed. It means understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. They can provide valuable insights. Anger may reveal an injustice. Fear may warn of a real danger. Sadness may signal the need for rest or change. But these emotions should guide us, not control us. Consider how often people make decisions based on emotions alone, only to regret them later. A harsh word spoken in anger can damage a relationship. A decision made in fear can lead to missed opportunities. Acting out of jealousy, resentment, or frustration rarely leads to wisdom. But when emotions are acknowledged and examined without immediate reaction, we gain the ability to respond rather than simply react. We become the masters of our minds rather than their servants. This approach requires discipline. It is easy to be carried away by emotions, to act in the heat of the moment, to justify our feelings as absolute truth. But emotions are not always accurate reflections of reality. They are influenced by our past experiences, our expectations, and even our physical state. A tired mind sees problems where none exist. A hungry body fuels irritation. Understanding this allows us to take emotions seriously without being blindly led by them. When emotions arise, let them come. Let them stay for as long as they need to, and when they are ready to leave, let them go. Do not hold on to anger, resentment, or sadness beyond their natural course. Just as the body naturally heals from wounds, the mind naturally finds balance if we do not interfere. Do not prolong suffering by feeding it with unnecessary thoughts. Do not relive painful experiences over and over in your mind. Accept emotions, learn from them, and allow them to pass. Life will always bring challenges, and emotions will always be part of the experience, but you are not a prisoner to them. You are the one who watches, the one who decides. Be still, observe, and remember. Emotions are visitors, not masters. Let them come, let them go, and remain steady within yourself. Every moment holds the potential for a fresh start. The past, no matter how heavy or complicated, does not have the power to dictate the present unless we allow it to. Yet many people remain trapped in their past mistakes, regrets, and disappointments, as if reliving them will somehow change what has already been written. They carry yesterday's burdens into today, never realizing that they have the choice to set them down and begin again. The idea of a fresh start does not mean forgetting or ignoring the past. It does not mean pretending that failures never happened or that pain does not exist. Instead, it means recognizing that the past is unchangeable and that dwelling on it serves no purpose. What matters is what you do now. Every second that passes is an opportunity to reshape your life, to make different choices, to take a step in a new direction. But this can only happen if you allow yourself to move forward, instead of clinging to what is already gone. People often resist starting over because they feel that too much time has been lost, that it is too late, or that they are defined by their past experiences. But time moves forward, whether we do or not. What happened yesterday is already beyond reach, and what happens tomorrow is shaped by what we do today. If you waste today looking back, tomorrow will be no different from yesterday. The cycle continues until you decide to break it. Mistakes are inevitable. Everyone stumbles, makes poor decisions, and faces setbacks. But mistakes are only permanent if you refuse to grow from them. They are lessons, not life sentences. If a tree loses its leaves in winter, does it remain barren forever? No. When spring comes, it grows new leaves, stronger than before. Life follows the same rhythm. You can shed the weight of old failures and allow yourself to grow again. The key is not to resist change, but to embrace it. The mind often clings to the familiar, even when the familiar brings suffering. There is comfort in routine, even in pain, because it is known. Starting over requires stepping into the unknown, and the unknown is unsettling. But growth does not happen in comfort. Progress is made when we dare to leave behind what no longer serves us. Many people believe that they need the perfect moment to start over, that they must wait for the right time, the right opportunity, the right circumstances. But the perfect moment never comes. There is no magical day when everything aligns perfectly. The only time to start is now. If you wait for conditions to be ideal, you will wait forever. Change begins with a single step, no matter how small. Starting over does not mean discarding everything. It does not mean becoming an entirely different person overnight. It means taking what is useful from the past and leaving behind what is not. It means recognizing what no longer aligns with your values, your goals, or your well-being, and having the courage to move beyond it. Think of a sculptor chipping away at a block of stone. The sculpture does not emerge instantly. It is shaped little by little through careful removal of excess material. The same applies to life. You shape your future by removing what is unnecessary, negative thoughts, unhealthy habits, self-doubt. With each step forward, you carve a new version of yourself, refined by experience but not bound by it. There will always be voices, both internal and external, that tell you, starting over is foolish. Some will remind you of your past failures, questioning whether you are capable of change. Others will resist your transformation because it challenges their own comfort. But their doubts are not your burden to carry. The only voice that matters is the one inside you that says, I can begin again. Life does not wait. Time moves whether we are ready or not. Every day is a chance to redefine yourself, to release what no longer serves you, and to build something new. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to have all the answers. You only have to take the first step, and then another, and another. The past is a lesson, not a prison. The future is unwritten. Right now, in this moment, you hold the pen. What will you write next? Discipline is the foundation of true strength. It is what allows a person to remain steady when faced with temptation, distraction, or difficulty. Many people believe that happiness comes from comfort, that peace is found in avoiding struggle, but in reality, a life dictated by comfort leads to weakness. True peace comes from mastering oneself, from having control over one's mind and actions rather than being controlled by fleeting desires and external circumstances. This mastery is achieved through discipline. Discipline is the ability to do what must be done, even when it is difficult, even when every part of you resists it. It is waking up early when you would rather sleep, working toward a goal when it would be easier to procrastinate, staying calm in the face of adversity instead of reacting impulsively. It is the quiet, steady force that allows a person to remain unmoved by distractions, focused on what truly matters. The modern world offers countless distractions: entertainment, social media, endless news cycles, temporary pleasures. Everywhere we turn, something is demanding our attention, pulling us away from ourselves, making it easy to avoid discomfort. People seek escape in these distractions, thinking they are finding relief. But in truth, they are only numbing themselves. They avoid their problems instead of facing them. They replace meaningful action with fleeting entertainment. Over time, this weakens the mind. A person who constantly seeks distraction loses the ability to sit in silence, to think deeply, to confront their own thoughts and emotions. Discipline is what separates those who grow from those who remain stagnant. Without it, a person drifts through life, reacting rather than acting, controlled by impulses rather than making deliberate choices. A disciplined person, however, does not depend on motivation, which is unreliable and temporary. They do not wait to feel like doing what must be done. They simply do it. They train themselves to act in accordance with reason rather than emotion. This is not to say that emotions should be ignored, but they should not dictate one's actions. A disciplined mind acknowledges emotions without being ruled by them. If fear arises, discipline says, proceed anyway. If doubt appears, discipline says, stay the course. If laziness tempts, discipline says, keep going. It is this internal strength that allows a person to remain focused on their goals, regardless of external circumstances. Many believe that discipline is restrictive, that it takes away freedom, but the opposite is true. A person without discipline is a prisoner to their impulse. They are controlled by cravings, by distractions, by momentary pleasures. They do not truly choose their actions, they are led by them. A disciplined person, however, is truly free. They have the ability to choose their path, to act with purpose, to resist what does not serve them. Consider the athlete who trains every day, despite fatigue, the writer who sits down to work even when inspiration is absent, the student who studies, even when it is tedious. None of these actions are done because they are easy. They are done because the person has chosen a goal greater than their temporary comfort, and in this discipline they find strength. They do not allow momentary discomfort to dictate their destiny. This strength is available to anyone who seeks it. It is not something one is born with, it is something that is built, one decision at a time. Every time a person chooses discipline over distraction, they reinforce their willpower. Every time they resist an impulse that does not serve them, they become stronger. And strength, once built, remains with them in all aspects of life. Discipline is not about punishment or harshness, it is about self-respect. It is about valuing oneself enough to make choices that lead to growth rather than decay. It is about realizing that true satisfaction does not come from easy pleasures, but from the deep sense of accomplishment that comes from mastering oneself. A person who cultivates discipline does not fear difficulty because they know they have the strength to endure it. They do not seek escape in distractions because they are content within themselves. They do not rely on external validation because they are confident in their own path. They are steady, unshaken, unmoved by the chaos around them. Discipline is a choice, made repeatedly until it becomes a way of life. It is the difference between those who merely dream and those who achieve. It is the quiet force that allows a person to remain strong, focused, and in control. And in that control there is true freedom. Change is inevitable. No matter how much we resist it, life moves forward, time does not wait, and nothing remains the same forever. Yet, people often cling to the familiar, afraid of what comes next. They hold onto old habits, outdated beliefs, and past experiences, even when these things no longer serve them. They fear uncertainty, forgetting that every moment of growth, every transformation, every new beginning is born from change. To truly embrace life, one must not only accept change, but learn to welcome it. There is a tendency to see change as something disruptive, something that takes away stability. People become attached to what is known, believing that comfort means security, but this is an illusion. The world is always shifting, whether we accept it or not. The seasons change, the body ages, circumstances evolve. Nothing remains fixed. Resisting change is like trying to hold onto sand. It slips through the fingers no matter how tightly we grasp it. The more we struggle against it, the more suffering we create for ourselves. Instead of fearing change, we must recognize it as an opportunity. It is through change that growth happens. A seed must break apart to become a tree. A river must flow, never remaining in one place, to reach the ocean. Likewise, a person must allow themselves to let go of what they were in order to become what they are meant to be. Holding on to the past does not preserve it. It only prevents us from moving forward. Many people resist change because they associate it with loss. The loss of a familiar routine, a relationship, a version of themselves they once knew. But loss is not the enemy. What is lost makes way for what is to come. The person who loses